Individual errors cost the Raptors last night's game against the Chicago Bulls, but it was our old bad habits that put them in that position to begin with. But it's tough to shake those old bad habits when the front office doesn't give their new head coach the tools to succeed. Let's get into it. Welcome everybody to Amateur Sports, the YouTube channel that is dedicated to Toronto Raptors content and videos just like this, as well as live stream watch-alongs and some additional shorts. Drop a like if you enjoyed this one along the way, and subscribe. If you like the Raptors, you'll love Amateur Sports. Tons of great Raptors content coming all throughout the regular season. And my goodness, we have a long season to go. Like, do I really have to go through 80 more games of this? Last night's game against the Bulls was some absolute nonsense. One of the worst, craziest, insane games I have ever seen in my life as a basketball fan, and the Raptors come out on the wrong side of it. And really, if you look at the final 5 minutes and maybe the last 20 seconds of the regular time, you'll see the individual errors that cost the Raptors this game 100%. If you want a direct reaction to those individual errors, I encourage you to watch the post-game show that I recorded right after that game. But the game as a whole led up to that point, and the nonsense of the game led up to that point. Now, obviously, it hit its boiling point in those last few minutes, in those last 20 seconds, but that was a very winnable game for the Raptors for the duration of the 48 minutes, and the Raptors could have put themselves in a much better position to succeed had the Raptors put together some semblance of a consistent performance here, but unfortunately, they were not able to do so. This performance was like Canadian climate in the spring. If you're not from Canada, you're not from Southern Ontario in particular, maybe this doesn't make a lot of sense, but there are days where you really get all 4 seasons in the same day. You have like a cold fall morning, then it starts snowing, but then it gets hot all of a sudden, it feels like summer, and then it starts raining and feels like spring. This Raptors performance had it all. You had every possible version of the Raptors all mashed together into one game here. The first quarter, you had the half-court offense working, getting to the rim, getting on the inside, and finding success over there. The Raptors started the game 7 for 8 from the field. Did not take a three-pointer. I mean, an efficient quality offense requires threes as well, but you saw the Raptors, their ability to get to the rim and be efficient over there. Then you had the second quarter where the Bulls completely took away the interior, and you had the Raptors' non-existent half-court offense where they could not hit a three to save their life. The Bulls kept going, well, if you're not going to hit threes, you're not going to get any buckets here, so you may as well keep shooting. And the Raptors kept shooting and shooting and shooting. They kept missing and missing and missing, and that was a showcase to the Raptors with the inability to create in the half-court. Then you had the third quarter where the Raptors were all out in transition, pushing the ball and really working the offense well, getting to the rim in transition, finding some jump shots to fall in transition, but it was just a full court game where the Raptors were a lot better on offense. And then you had the fourth quarter Raptors where, yes, the half court was working really well. The half court offense was working. Finally, your main shooter, Gary Trent Jr., was starting to knock down the three ball, and the Bulls could not hang at all. That is until the last 5 minutes where the old habits once again rose up for the team, where they can play all this great basketball for so much of the game and then completely abandon all of those game plans in the last few minutes when it becomes really slowed down, when it really becomes a half-court battle. Like, it's not just the missing shots, it's not just the turnovers, it's not just the fouls, the offensive fouls in particular. It's the fact that, like, we're not even getting quality shots out of any of these possessions. Darko Rajakovic was brought into the team to really aid with development. He's a very development-oriented coach, but also Darko is a half-court offensive specialist. His teams in the last 3-4 years, whether it be Memphis or whether it be Phoenix, have led the league in pick-and-roll usage. So we were hoping to see a lot of that with the Raptors, and we have seen that with the Raptors, and we were hoping to see a much better half-court product, and we just haven't been able to see that just yet. But as much as you can peg some of the game on Darko for the way kind of the game plan principles were abandoned, you can also blame individual players for the way it transpired in the end. You can also point the finger at the front office for hiring a coach and then not providing him the necessary tools to succeed, because we're going through the exact same story in a lot of ways of last year, where you don't have a consistent 48-minute performance. You abandon all of the stuff that worked for the first 45 minutes a game when it comes to the last 3 minutes of the game. And again, you're met with a team that has absolutely no bench. Like, for the first 45 or so minutes of this game, the Raptors had all 5 starters in the net positive, 5 out of 6 of their bench players in the net negative, 5 bench players other than Boucher. The Chicago Bulls had 5 starters in the net negative, all 5, and all 5 bench players in the net positive. And it wasn't just like, a couple of points above, a couple of points below. It was severely in the positive or severely in the negative, which once again is a showcase that the Raptors have no depth and the Raptors have no bench. And I think a lot of the bench problems for this team start with not having a player who can run the offense in the backup unit, because you still can't play Malachi Flynn. Very obviously yesterday, Malachi Flynn proved to everybody, proved beyond any reasonable doubt, that yes, indeed, Jeff Dowden is better than Malachi Flynn, but Jeff Dowden had to watch this game at home on the couch without an NBA contract. Malachi Flynn is on a fully guaranteed deal here. I mean, anybody who has any sort of semblance of a belief in Malachi Flynn at this point, like, what can you actually say about this guy? He played 4 minutes, and I think he was a minus 14. Like, what can you actually say to defend this guy? How can you actually still try to give him the time of day here? Because it's not just 2 games into the season here. I get it. 2 games with a new coach, whatever. This is year 4, and he's still the exact same player we drafted 29th overall in the 2020 draft, 1 pick ahead of Desmond Bane. But beyond just that, the bench in general, like, he only got 4 minutes, right? McDaniels played like 23, 25 minutes of this one. I still don't know what he does. I watched all of preseason. I've watched the 2 games this season. What does he actually do? Because he's not a great, like, he's a fine defender. On offense, he just stands there and doesn't hit threes. And the team just seemingly is worse when he's on the floor compared to when he's not on the floor. Achua kind of fell off a cliff in yesterday's game as well compared to the first game of the season. Like, the bench in general, Boucher made a difference. But, oh my God, I would be willing to trade Chris Boucher just so I don't have to see this guy bite on an obvious pump fake from 3 ever again. Like, I give this guy my praise, but I'm like, I can't give too much praise because I know there's some stupid, crazy play in him still. And we had that with that DeRozan foul, the foul on DeRozan on the 3 later on in the game. It's just, the bench is still not there for this team. The fact that if the Bulls clog up the paint, the Raptors literally can't score. Like, if you sit in the paint and make us shoot, there's basically going to be 5 to 10 minute spells of the game where you just straight up cannot score. The Raptors led by 12 out of the gates this game, then allowed the Bulls to go on a 40-9 run. 40-9. Just strictly based on the fact the Raptors could not score. They could not find a way to put the ball in the basket. They could not find a way to get to the rim. They could not find a way to get easy shots. They took 19 threes in the first half out of 40 total attempts and only made 2 of them. So it's a big rant right now about, like, the things that went wrong here, but ultimately, like, the front office hired a coach here. Hired a coach for the specific principles that I've laid out here. They wanted development. They wanted a better offense. They wanted a better half-court offense. They wanted a more team-oriented game. They wanted a less selfish game. So why would they hire a coach for these principles and then not give him a team to be able to succeed there? There's no backup point guard. There is no backup point guard on this team. There is no point guard other than Dennis Schroeder who can be trusted with NBA minutes. Sure, give Javon Freeman liberty and opportunity ahead of Malachi Flynn next time, but not an ideal situation regardless with either of those guys. In order to have a nice, efficient, potent half-court offense, you need spacing. We don't have any. We have such a limited amount of spacing here, and when Gary Trent Jr. for the first 3 quarters of the game yesterday decides that he doesn't know how to play basketball, we have absolutely no way to stretch the floor and no way to find space on the interior for all-star caliber players, all-NBA caliber players like Pascal Siakam, who, by the way, like, did not get the ball nearly enough in the first half of this game, or for Scotty Barnes, who's taken on like another level, it seems, this season, but is having to fight through the lack of space. Like, could you imagine both of these guys with their talent, with additional spacing that should have been provided to this team with the moves we made in the offseason? So, like, we're going to get games like this. It's game 2 out of 82. I get it. Like, there's no need to overreact, go crazy or anything, but it's just like, the reason it's so frustrating is that we've seen this movie already. We've seen this. We saw it so much last season, but we still don't have enough shooting. We still don't have a backup point guard, and we still don't have a bench. Like, it feels like this has been 3 years of the exact same problems for this team, and they are still present, and the front office has still elected not to rectify them, even when they brought in a new coach to try and fix these things, they did not give him the tools to really do the job effectively. So the Raptors are going to be fun this season. Their defense is phenomenal, and that's a big plus that we're going to get out of this one as well. Their defense was once again phenomenal, but we're just going to be so prone to having games like this where we shut down on offense for 10 to 15 minutes because we just don't have enough ways to score. And we're going to have games like this where we have an inability to close because the personnel just isn't there to work in a slow half-court offense. Now, again, front office to be blamed. Talk about the coaching a little bit. Individually as well, like this just feels like a team that doesn't know how to win yet. It's just not at the point where they know how to win. They know how to be ruthless. Like a 99.8% win probability late in the fourth quarter. You could play this game 100 more times. The Raptors would win 100 of them. If you go from the last 5 minutes of the game onwards, they'd win 100 out of 100. So a batshit crazy game, but more games like this are bound to be on the way. And it's down to the front office and, again, the personnel in place. Not going to keep the players, Barnes' mistakes, Siakam's mistakes, Boucher's mistakes. Not going to have these players, keep these players exempt from criticism. Not going to keep the coach exempt from criticism because it's the second game. But, again, 3 years of this, and we still haven't addressed 3 fundamental needs of this team. It doesn't make any sense. What do you make of this one? What do you make of this game in particular? Any thoughts you have, let me know in the comments down below. It took a lot. It took a lot emotionally to do this video today. So hit that like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe for less dramatic videos like this, likely on the way in the future, all covering the Raptors, and I'll see you again very soon.